Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
The roar hit first. Sophie, Sophie. Rolling off the Gainbridge rafters like a freight train the referees couldn't dodge, even if they kept dodging every cheap shot Caitlin Clark took that night. Elbows, hip checks, a finger jammed straight into her eye. Nothing drew more than a wrist slap whistle. Indiana was up double digits, yet the entire arena felt ready to combust. Then Sophie Cunningham jogged to the scorer's table, ponytail swinging, already tucking a grin behind her mouthguard. 46 seconds later, she wrapped Jacy Sheldon in a bear hug, slammed on the brakes, and flattened the rookie onto the hardwood. Flagrant 2, automatic ejection, $400 fine. Sophie winked, pointed at the bench, and mouthed, "Worth every penny." In that instant, the game flipped from routine win to seismic moment. A 6-foot black belt declared open season on anyone reckless enough to target the league's most valuable star.
Teams are going to have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
Clips exploded across social media before she cleared the tunnel. By sunrise, her Fever jersey was sold out nationwide, and Bodyguard of the W trended higher than the final score. Sophie didn't just protect Clark, she detonated a season's worth of frustration, proved 4 Benjamins can buy viral immortality, and forced the WNBA to answer one burning question. What happens when its newest folk hero decides enough is enough? But that's only the opening act.
They didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this. Two Caitlin Clark teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom! Wow.
Clark might have walked into the season as a once-in-a-generation shooter, but by mid-June, she'd become an unwilling crash test dummy for every defender desperate to trend on TikTok. The eye gouge from Jacy Sheldon was just the latest entry in a reel already stuffed with hip checks, arms wrapped around her waist, and shoulders launched into her ribcage with linebacker enthusiasm. Fans clipped every slow-motion replay, spliced them into a running montage titled "Open Season on Caitlin."
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabry. I missed that one, Edona.
And it kept getting longer by the game. Even ESPN's commentators, usually diplomatic to a fault, could barely disguise their disbelief. That kind of contact warrants an ejection in the NBA, yet here we are again with only a common foul.
It made me think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected, just a common technical foul? That would never happen. It would never happen.
The double standard was glaring. When other stars hit the deck, whistles shrilled so fast you'd think the refs were trying to set land speed records. With Clark, crickets.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs.
Social media did what the whistle wouldn't. Twitter erupted with side-by-side graphics. Clark's bruised arms on the left, league-leading TV ratings on the right, captioned, "Protect the million viewer magnet." Hashtags like #bubble wrap, CC, and free throws for Clark trended for days. Pundits from Pat McAfee to Cheryl Reeve demanded action, but the league office responded with the bureaucratic equivalent of a shrug. Meanwhile, Indiana's bench kept a running count. That's 15 no calls in 3 weeks. One assistant muttered, while Clark iced another forearm shiver.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
Inside Gainbridge, frustration morphed into something darker, anticipation. Fans didn't just want to win, they wanted retribution. Every time an opponent even brushed Clark's jersey, the lower bowl leaned forward, begging someone, anyone, to answer back. You could feel the pressure building like steam under a kettle, and everyone understood the physics lesson about to unfold. When the heat keeps rising, something must explode.
And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, That's the understatement.
It gets worse. Sophie didn't ease into the chaos. She punched the detonator. With 46 seconds on the clock, Jacy Sheldon knifed toward the rim, hoping for a sympathy layup. Cunningham slid over, wrapped Sheldon midair, and muscled her to the hardwood like she'd been taught in countless taekwondo dojos. The whistle finally screamed, "Flagrant 2, ejection." As refs huddled with the scorer's table, Sophie strolled past Clark, slapped her teammate's back, and mouthed, "I got you." That single bear hug felt like months of swallowed whistles reversing course all at once. Gainbridge detonated, half cheer, half battle cry, and even the Suns bench looked stunned that someone had finally cashed the check Clark's bruises kept writing.
And I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held to.
But that's not all. The clip hit every feed before Sophie reached the locker room. ESPN tweeted it with the caption, "Bodyguard of the W." TikTok remixes popped up by the minute. One earned 1 million views in 2 hours. By dawn, fanatics listed Cunningham's Fever jersey as sold out, and local pro shop staff were screenshotting empty racks like proud crime scenes. Meanwhile, a Change.org petition banned Sophie Cunningham from the WNBA managed a few hundred signatures before Clark Nation ratioed it into oblivion, dunking on every comment with memes of Sophie wearing a superhero cape.
So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA. Where she displayed tonight was disgusting.
Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit, lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her. They're jealous, the players union, it looks like the whole league.
The reason this matters, when a role player's $400 foul generates more buzz than a finals preview, the league has a credibility crisis on its hands, and Sophie just became its unexpected epicenter. It gets crazier. Just when you think you've got Sophie Cunningham figured out, black belt brawler, three-point sniper, media-savvy enforcer, another detail drops that completely rewrites the scouting report. She was also a football player, and not just any player. Sophie was the starting kicker for her high school football team. That's right, while most future Division I hoopers were busy perfecting their step backs, Sophie was lacing up cleats, slapping on a helmet, and drilling extra points under Friday night lights. In the middle of Columbia, Missouri, with thousands of fans packed into the stands, she held her own on a roster full of boys, and didn't just survive the moment, she owned it. Teammates later said she had ice in her veins. Coaches called her the most fearless player on the field.
I mean, if you think she's scared of little old Jacy Sheldon, you're out of your mind. She was putting on the pads and doing the old hut hut boo 42.
That grit, the kind you only build by walking into a locker room full of shoulder pads and skepticism, is exactly what turned Sophie into the WNBA's most fearless protector. That football field wasn't just a side hustle, it was early training for every big moment collision she'd face years later on hardwood floors across the country.
We are seeing literate people, not threats of violence, but people encouraging violence against a player. And that's not on. That's not on for nothing. There are people literally out there encouraging violence against Sophie Cunningham. And these are the people that want to say another fan base is the worst fan base in the WNBA, and they're encouraging literal violence against players.
The same girl who drilled game-winning field goals under pressure is now drilling fear into defenders who get too close to Caitlin Clark. Coincidence? Not a chance. The minute Sophie's Flagrant rocketed to number 1 on SportsCenter's top 10, her agent's inbox overflowed. Protective gear companies, energy bars, podcast networks, all pitching 6-month campaigns built around a single promise. If you mess with Caitlin, Sophie steps in.
Guys, it's actually insane how viral this has already gone. There's so many NBA accounts who are tweeting it. I was getting ESPN notifications about it. Like, it is wild how much traction.
Meanwhile, online sleuths compiled 12 viral clips of Clark getting mauled, none resulting in an ejection. ESPN's Pat McAfee called it the most lopsided whistle in modern hoops. Rebecca Lobo labeled the Sun Fever officiating a black eye for the brand. Even NBA stars chimed in. Draymond Green tweeted, "Protect your stars or lose them." The pressure cooker finally whistled. League HQ announced a mid-season officiating audit, an unprecedented move in WNBA history. Yet it gets worse. A fringe fringe petition demanding Sophie's ban briefly went viral, only to be ratioed into oblivion by Clark Nation, who responded with screenshots of sold-out jerseys and the caption, "Your boycott funds our wardrobe." Cunningham's clapback was savage simplicity. She quote tweeted the petition with 3 laughing emojis and a link to the Fever shop.
They got beat up by the enforcers. But Sophie Cunningham has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jerseys being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like that is the best way of going about it.
Analysts crunched the numbers. Kate Martin, Clark's college teammate, once outsold the reigning MVP's jersey simply by sharing Iowa nostalgia. Cunningham's moment was bigger, louder, and timed perfectly with Clark's meteoric rise. Merch tracking sites projected Sophie would clear 6 figures in royalties before July, while endorsement brokers whispered that her annual off-court income could reach 7 figures, a bracket previously reserved for MVPs and signature shoe athletes.
Sophie Cunningham's jersey has sold out. I repeat, the Sophie Cunningham Fever jersey has sold out.
But that's not all. The Fever clubhouse suddenly owned an identity sharper than any defensive scheme. Clark bombs from the logo. Boston controls the paint. Sophie patrols the no-fly zone around her superstar. Opponents now have to game plan the repercussions of dirty play as much as the playbook itself. A 46-second cameo, a bear hug foul, and a wink that said worth every penny detonated a cascade. Officials scrutinized, policies rewritten, jerseys sold out, endorsements flooding in, ticket markets flipping, broadcast ratings climbing, and most importantly, a rookie superstar finally exhaling, knowing someone's got her sick.
I wonder how much money Sophie Cunningham is going to make on endorsement deals this season, this summer. Like, I think Sophie Cunningham's endorsement deals are going to go into the millions, are going to be in the millions this year. I think they're going to be in the millions this year. Because if you are not only like good in front, like she's good in front of a camera, she is now known as the Caitlin Clark's enforcer. And like, it's something that matters. It's something that really, really matters.
Caitlin Clark arrived carrying the WNBA's growth on her shoulders. Sophie Cunningham hoisted up the shield. Together, they've turned every Fever tip-off into must-see TV and forced an entire sports ecosystem to ask itself a hard question. Why did it take 4 Benjamins and a viral clip to protect the face of the league? Stick around, because if one Flagrant can reshape revenue models and rewrite rule books, imagine the shockwaves when the playoffs start and the bodyguard of the W has to clock in all over again. Drop A in the comments if you're ready for round 2. This story is only getting louder.